Welcome back, please. Now here I am starting to show the basics about design of experiments because for a research to have a titles, to conduct a research, the basics about conducting research is primarily what you call it, a design of experiment, right? Design of experiment. It is a basics. It is a basic to understand the basics of design of experiments because it shows guidelines to have a basic research uh, title, which is a best research title, to have a best research title, to have a good researches, and to conduct a quality research, we have to understand the basics of design of experiments. Here, design of experiments basically deals about uh, problem identification and the parameter selection, parameter in a sense, which is output parameter and input parameters is there. Control of it, about factors also, about factors, level factors and uncontrollable factors are there, which experimenter can control, and uncontrollable factors are also there, which experimenter cannot uh, control, which is out of experimental control, those uncontrolled variables. So the basics here is about to know about the basics of design of experiments. Design of experiments here basically deals about uh, how to design experiment, how to design experiment. So to design experiment means to have a good research in science fields, and thank you. So I can start from design of experiment itself. So what is design of experiment? What is design of experiment? Why we design experiment? Primarily, we have to understand basics of about designing experiment. So to conduct research means it is bringing a new idea, bringing a novel to existing science principle, to existing science principles that basically adds a value in development innovation sector, So basically here, what design of experiment means? We can start here from this that what it says. What is design of experiment? What is design of experiment? So how to design an experiment? In the sense, how to design an experiment also. So, in a sense of how measurements or observations should be made in order to provide a valid, effective, and affordable response to a question. So here, the basic thing is that what is our question? What is our question? Our question is about our problem that motivated us to conduct research. So we have to understand a valid, effective response to a specific problem, without deciding a response. What an experimenter have to achieve, having research is nothing, because one researcher have to set uh, a goal, which response he have to bring after experimentation, and which parameter which he can control, in which way he control, and in which way that factors, those uncontrollable factors, are not uncontrolled. Why? These things have to be clarified from the start to conduct research. So the main thing here is that uh, which, which, what, and where. These are basic W questions which basically also works in experiments. So what treatments are? Treatments are several methods that we wish to contrast. So what are treatments? Treatments are several methods that in a contrast. So this could be in the form of various long distance rate structures. For example, in agricultural fields, they may be fertilizer kinds, maybe NPS, and another kinds are also there. Uh, So such kind of kinds or amount are basic, known as in treatment fields. Treatment fields that experiment can make a contrast. So what responses here? Response is nothing. Response is a result, is outcome that should be expected from an experiment. That we see an experimental unit following application of treatment. Firstly, treatments are there, right, for experiment. For experiments, there are treatments that experimenter can contrast, that experimenters can contrast. So the main thing here is that what response is there, right? What response is there? The main thing here is that what response is there. So basically, basically, experimenter have to see the basics of which he can contrast, which he can. So here, to understand basics about experiment, it is to understand about response is also one of the basic scenario, right? One of the basic scenario. So uh, uh, in related to treatments, in related to responses, this the way that experiment have to be conducted. Also, randomization is there. It is randomization is the way that experimenter can conduct experiment. It is the way that experimenter can conduct experiment. The application of a recognized, well understood probabilistic method of unit assignment of treatments. Unit assignment of treatments. Here it is, application is probabilistic method. Option how the experimenter, how experimenter can conduct means it's probabilistic method, right? Probabilistic method is the way, not basically basic scenario that should be selected, but it is the way and the method that experimenter can conduct experiment. It is also a basic scenario, not only not scenario. It is a probabilistic method to the unit assignment of treatments. For each treatment that experimenter are contrasting what units should be assigned, how randomization should be done, said. It is a basic way and the scenario, the conditions that experimenter can conduct is what you call it, randomization. Here related to randomization and experiments, experimental error. Another term is also there, experimental error. What's experimental error? It is arbitrary fluctuations that appears in every experiment as outcome. So most of the things related to research also, most of research may have some errors. Basically, error related to experiment, what it says, it's experimental error. Experimental error. It is arbitrary. It's not constant. It's fluctuation, right? Some unexpected fluctuation, some unexpected happenings. So it's called experimental error related to experiment. Thank you. So the same treatment will elicit distinct response from different experimental units. It is frequently the case that administering the same treatment repeatedly to the same unit, the same treatment repeatedly to the same unit will produce diverse response. So response may be diverse related to successive trials. This basically emphasizes experimental error. So in experimenter while experimenter conducting experiment, there may be happenings that experimental error may be there. So these are also basic concepts that experimenter and or researcher have to understand before conducting experiment, right? So measurement units or response units are actual objectives on which response is measured. Here, the basically what responses, how they are measured, it's measurement units. If each unit, what units in measurement should be done. This is a basic thing. For example, percentage. For example, some volumetric measurements. For example, for quantified measurements and qualified measurements. These are measurement units basically depends on two kinds of variables, which called qualitative variables and quantitative variables, right? This basically shows or identifies how measurement units should be done for each responses of an experiment. So it is based on basically kind of research. There qualitative research are there, quantitative research, qualitative research are assessments, and some way of experimentation is there. In quantitative experiment also, number of measurable ways within the numbers, such kind of types and kinds of experiments decides which measurement units have to be selected. And basically here we can see that main uses of design of experiment. Why design of experiment? Why design? Why experiment should be designed? It is a basic thing what a researcher have to understand from the start of research. So design of experiment is a multi-purpose tool that can be used in various situations for identification and of important input factors and how they are related to the output response. Yeah, basic thing here is that in design of experiment, it is multi-purpose tool anyway. It's a multi-purpose tool. Plenty of purpose are in experiment that should be designed. So it is basically identification of important identification of what you call it, identification of important input factors, important input variables or factors, or and not or and they are, how they are related to the output factors or response variables. It is the basic role that experiment should be designed because it should make some transfer function, some interlink between input parameters and output parameters, and how experimenter have to achieve on output response variables and into its target objective. So he have to set the way that experimenter have to solve his priorly set problem. This problem have to be set by providing a important objective. This objective have to be planned to find a basic solution for a given problem, because to find a solution, experimenter have to define its input parameters, existing parameters, his controllable parameters that he can control, and output parameters that he will bring result. And the interlink between those, it's called transferring, or transfer function has to be done. These things are to be identified and solved by using basics about design of experiment. So design of experiment is therefore mainly uses hard tools as it was reported. Okay. In addition, in design of experiment is basically regression analysis that can be used in various situations. Commonly used design types are the following: which what design types it is, comparison may be there, variable screening may be there. Yeah, it is as cited by these researchers' articles in design of experiment is conducted by HCO and AMCTTS and Abi Durakor in around 2012. And so, what design types experimenter can use means, as these experimenters, researchers say, comparison type may be there, comparison type may be there, variable screening type may be there, in reference to those of articles, those of researchers I am dealing, and basically also comparison type may be there. It is variable screening type may be there, transfer function identification type, system optimization type, or robust design type. Robust design type. So these are the basic design types in design of experiments. So if you see what each says, what each design type says, basically, for example, so a comparison type design in experiment is this. So this use is one factor among multiple comparisons to select the best option. That uses it uses also T tests, Z tests, such kind of tests. By using such kind of tests, it is selects best options, right? It selects best options. So it selects best options, one factor among multiple. It's comparison, right? By using Z test, F test, and T test like that, right? What variable screening means? And variable screening is actually usually